This is Andy Parwar for ID Boxing, and I'm joined by the big man, Johnny Fisher, here in Sheffield. I forgot where I was for a second, man. Johnny, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Andy. Don't forget where you are. It's quite dangerous, that. You've got to remember where you are.
I know, I should remember, Johnny. How's life, mate? How have things been going?
Yeah, good, mate. I'm feeling good for Saturday. I prepared well. I know it's not going to be an easy task. He's proud. He comes to fight. He's never been stopped. So I've got to be ready for a tough test again.
A bit of time out of the ring, obviously, since you was last out on the Jacobs Rider undercard, Johnny. Yeah. How important of a period do you feel this has been for your career? Because I'm interested to know your take, because you sell a lot of tickets, you've got a big following. Did you feel like almost there was a pressure building on you because of that? And maybe that win, going the distance, has helped people realise you're so early on in your career, it's not going to be the end product immediately.
You're 100% right, and that's one thing. You can try and hide the fact that there's not any more pressure, but there is more pressure. When you sell thousands of tickets, there's more pressure on you, there's more people watching. I'd rather it that way, because it's a way to a successful career. But I'm very aware of where I am, how young I am in this sport, in terms of experience and my actual age. There's no rush with me, there's no rush at all. I'm fighting someone like in Gorman at my 5th fight, maybe a little bit too soon, but on the other side of the coin, probably not, because the valuable experience I gained for them 6 rounds against a tricky guy with a cut and a broken hand, good experience gained. And it does let everyone know, and it allows me to know, more importantly, my team, just settle down. We ain't got to rush, because if I kept going fight after fight, knockout after knockout, you get put in with someone who's probably above your calibre. And I'm at a certain level, and I know what it takes to get to them levels above me.
How much of that, should we go with acid test that you've come through in that fight, do you feel you've learnt from, and how important of a lesson has it been?
It's been an important lesson, a very important lesson. I don't feel like the rounds were close. It was a good contested fight, but I was winning them, and I felt good to get the win after that. You're obviously a bit deflated when you get out. You think, I want to get the knockout. But looking back, what I learned from that is you're not going to run through everyone. You've got power, yes, but if you're not setting things up and you're not setting shots up, you're not establishing the jab first, it's going to be hard, and you're going to fall short sometimes. And sometimes you're going to hit someone on the chin, like I did, and they're going to be able to take it, and they're going to take a little bit more wearing down. So all in all, a lot of lessons learned from that fight, and hopefully we can show some improvements on Saturday.
John, you talked about your fight on Saturday night then, as you mentioned, showing some improvements, but what do you know about your opponent, and what are you expecting on his behalf?
He's tough, he's strong, durable obviously, and he's a proud man. From what I've seen, he's proud. He's got a kickboxing background. So listen, he's not a world beater, he's nothing extremely special, but he's going to come to win, he's going to try and stick it on me. That's what I'm expecting, so I've got to be equal to that task, and in some ways I think that's going to make it not easier, but that'll benefit me more. Someone's going to sort of engage me a lot more, because Nguema was sort of there like that, and hard to engage, quite awkward in front of me, but not really setting anything up to try and attack me. So I can capitalise on this guy who's going to come forward a little bit.
When you look at kind of your future moving beyond this, Johnny, how active do you want to be for the remainder of this year?
I want to be so active. I have 2 more fights after this, hopefully October time, then December. If one crops up in between that for a week's notice, I'll take that as well, because I want to be out as regularly as possible. I was building a great bit of momentum before this, and it was important that I did have that break, but now I'm ready to push on again.
I remember again going back to your last fight, after Eddie said that he wants to kind of take you the traditional southern area route upwards. Do you agree with that you should be looking for, start off that low and build up?
For me, listen, it's the lowest belt you can win, but a southern area belt, there's still the feeling of winning a belt and being a king of the south, or like just establishing yourself with a name. It's just unbelievable. I'd love to win a belt, and then an English title would be brilliant, and then the British title belt is what I've got my eyes on. That's what I want. And then who knows what you can do after that. I don't put a ceiling on how far I go, but I'm also realistic about where I am, and something like a southern area title would be brilliant. But even that, I ain't rushing to fight anyone. I ain't rushing to call this one out, call that one out. I've got my own development to do, and I'll never change that, because I've got to get myself to as best as I can be.
That was a question I was going to ask. You're not somebody who, whenever I interview, you call names out, you start to approach people for certain fights, and you've just said that you don't need to. But when you look at, say, the British heavyweights, obviously you've got Tyson and AJ at the top, the likes of Dillian and Derek just beneath them, and then maybe the Wardleys, the Gormans, the Joe Joyce and Hughie Fury even up there as well, mate. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, don't mean to disrespect anyone. But where would you put yourself in amongst all of those? Would you put yourself on a par with, say, a Wardley or Gorman beneath them? Like, what would you say?
Wardley and Gorman are a lot ahead of me. In their career at the minute. They're 12, between 10 and 15 fights in. I'm just about to have my 6th fight, and I've got to respect that. And I know when my time comes, it might be a year's time, it might be 2 years' time, it might be 6 months' time, it might be 5 years' time, who knows. But all I focus on is one fight at a time. It's a cliche, but that's how it's sort of refreshing for me, and how it's good for me, because I'm just taking one step at a time. But Wardley, Gorman, they're ahead of me, and they're going to have a great battle for British title.
Johnny, you've never come across like this as well. I just want to say before I ask the question, but in and amongst all of kind of the expectation built on you and the following you've built, did you ever maybe feel yourself getting a little, not carried away, but buying into it yourself, that maybe you were bigger than what you were up until the last fight?
Yeah, you can. I always, every day I think about, am I just getting carried along with the hype? I always, not check yourself, but you're like, don't let that hype or that people say, oh, you're selling loads of tickets. Like, I've got great loyal fans saying you're ready to fight this guy. But I've got to be aware of where I am, and it's very easy. And I can see from that little taste of what selling tickets and having a bit of people knowing who you are, that you can get carried away with that very easily. So the challenge for people in that situation, the situation I'm in, is to keep checking yourself every day and thinking, you can't cheat that, you can't do this, you can't cut corners here. You've got to keep yourself grounded, because it's very easy in this world we live in with social media as well to get carried away with where you are.
Johnny Wasser, you do want to get your thoughts on some heavyweight fights that are on the horizon. Some people you've shared the ring with in sparring as well. Just had it announced today, Joe Joyce and Joseph Parker is back on. Your thoughts when that one comes around?
Yeah, listen, Joe Parker's a great name for Joe Joyce to fight. He's probably top 5, top 10 heavyweight out there, and I think that's the sort of fight that's really going to put Joe Joyce on the map with people who don't follow his boxing as closely as me and you do, or people involved in the boxing community, because he's fought the likes, he's fought AJ, obviously, everyone knows him from that, and I think Joe Joyce is going to be too much for him. The only way I think you can beat Joe Joyce realistically is outboxing for 12 rounds, and to outbox Joe Joyce for 12 rounds you've got to be extremely fit, you've got to have an elite mindset, and if Joe Parker's got that, he's got a chance of beating him. But for my money's on Joe Joyce.
You've sparred Joe, Johnny. Reflecting on that for me, what was it like for you again? I know you're at a very different stage of your career, but how difficult of a proposition did you find it trying to keep up with Joe and his engine? And does he spar the way that he fights?
Listen, he fights better than he spars. Some people are like that. And listen, you go in there sometimes, just me and Joe spar, not much will happen. Other times it'll be fireworks in there. I've seen Joe spar and he's an animal, but for some reason when he goes to fight he just turns it on even more, and that's a great way to be. I've had some great rounds with Joe. My speed and my combination punching, that's a good mix with his sort of wearing you down, readability, moving around the ring, his craftsmanship. So we're in we work really well together, and just for me to get in the ring and spar him, I'm going to learn so much from people like that. And sparring the likes of Joyce, Fury, Chisora, that's where development for me is going to be done, because I'm not got that extensive amateur career.
Two names you just mentioned there, Fury and Chisora. There's some reports coming out that we might see a trilogy bout. I don't think many expected to see. I know everybody will see Tyson as a big favourite, but what are your thoughts on it? Yeah,
I think it's still an interesting fight, a great fight, two great characters. I think the build-up will be brilliant, the press conferences, the weigh-ins, and I think it's still an entertaining fight, because Chisora don't go down easy, does he? But I think if you're logical, you're going to go with Fury for the win.
And final one, Wardley Gorman being ordered by the board as well. Joe's vacated that British title since. Just your take once again, what do you expect to happen when them two share the ring?
Wardley Gorman is stylistically a great matchup, two very different boxers. I sparred a lot with Wardley, obviously. I just think Wardley finds a way. When he's been in a little bit of trouble, he finds a way to pull something out, and I'm hoping he can do that against Gorman. If his back's ever up against the ropes, he's got that winning mentality to do it, and I really hope he does. He's a good friend of mine, Fabio, and he's doing really well.
Right, Johnny, we'll leave it there now. Leave you shoot off to go and enjoy the rest of your day and get a Chinese down, yeah?
Not a Chinese just yet. We'll wait a couple more days. I'll just stick to. I have an Indian takeaway tonight. I have a chicken tikka masala. But
I better be invited, Johnny.
You can come, Andy, if you want. No, cheers, mate. I appreciate it.